So it was this time last week we had the sudden drop of Dragon's Rising Season 2 Part 2, and to say the least, everyone is talking about it. And regardless about whether you're upset that it released early or you're glad that it released early, the season is here, and to say the least, I have a lot to say about it. And even though I was planning on making a video series where I talk about every season in order, I really do want to talk about this season. So here we go. And before I go any further, I have watched the season once, so if I do get any small details wrong, I do apologise, but ultimately my point will remain the same, and not to mention that there is going to be a major spoiler warning, because if you're watching this video, I've assumed you've watched it as well. So here we go, and you can't complain if I told you something you didn't know. So where did we leave off before now? Kai is gone, Noct is here, Sora lied to Aaron, and the Blood Moon came and went, and we had the Tournament of the Sources teased, which of course brings us to now. And I'm not going to sit here and explain every single aspect that happened during the season, because like I said, I'm assuming you've seen it, but the TLDR goes like this. Aaron and Sora go out to find some new info on their parents, but they fail because Agent Walker is missing. While escaping, they come across a dying matriarch dragon, which it has their horns missing, and through this and a visit from the Source Dragon Emotion, they discover the Tournament of Sources, and they make their way there to find the Dragon Killer. The ninja fight their way into the tournament, cue a lot of fighting in general, and Aaron starts to hate the ninja, and like Raz, after finding out that Sora lied and Wu was the cause of the merge and his parents going missing. Noct takes all of their powers and uses it to release the Forbidden Five. Nia brings back Kai, they fight, Noct loses all of his powers, Aaron saves Raz, Sora wins the Tournament of the Sources, and the Source Dragon of Motion gives Lloyd a D&D summon. And that's about the give or take of the season. Now how do I feel about these new episodes? To say the least, I do actually quite enjoy the story. I had a good time watching these episodes. There was a fair bit of time where I was a bit disappointed and it felt like we were just getting a lot of the same stuff because this season really does remind me of season 4. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this was a very solid set of episodes with some great fight scenes, some great visuals, and some great story to be told. Like I said, when it comes to the visuals, a lot of people thought that the season was actually unfinished, but it clearly seems like it is. We got a lot of really good looking visuals to say the least. Some more questionable decisions. I don't know how I feel about the rainbow hands, but overall, I do think this season looked fantastic. We got the classic twist villain reveal during this season, being that the uncle of the presenter was the guy all along helping Noct and rigged the games for him. But in the end, it kind of amounted to nothing, and the villain was just Noct and the Forbidden Five, which I'm not mad at, but they gave all this hype and all this build up to find out who it was, just for it to ultimately mean nothing. And we do just realise that all along it was Noct and the soul that possessed Jordana, which is fine, but overall I do think it was a bit of a shame, and it led to one major question to me, being how is it that they sneaked away from Raz for so long to kill matriarch dragons? Like I said, it's got a lot of comparison to season 4, which I'm not mad at because it is one of the best seasons of the show. And the fun thing is that the season outright mentions the Tournament of Elements and claims that Chen must have emulated the tournament for his own evil doings, which is a very fun detail and shows that Ninjago is one big connected world. But I will say that the Tournament of the Sources was definitely better than the Tournament of Elements. It was probably more of a fun thing to see, and I do think we got more time with the tournament itself. But I do think it came at the consequence of there not being an outright villain for the season. It was more just Raz and his crew just taunting the ninja. We also never really got much when it came to the Wolf Mask Warriors, which is a shame because they are some cool villains, but for the most part, they just stood there and watched for most of the season, if they were there at all. They mainly just turned up the end to get their upgrades, and then they just beat up a bunch of powerless elemental masters. But overall, they were still fine. I would definitely say that Raz came out the best in terms of the villains of the season, because they're given this idea that he's not really a villain, and our perspective of Raz is what made him look bad, when in reality, he reveals that all he wants to do is reverse the merge, which is not exactly a bad thing, he just has a very weird way of doing it. The Forbidden Five, for what they're worth, are fine. We don't really get much of them, and I'm assuming season 3 is going to do a lot more of them now that they're revealed and they're free. But it does leave me wishing we had more, especially considering that the Jordana possessed arc didn't really do much outside of a couple of moments with Sora throughout the entire season. And like I said, Noct is just weird, to say the least. He does a lot of things I just wasn't really expecting. The main thing for me is that he got all of the elemental powers, and even then, he barely defeated Kai. Now, a lot of people have attributed this to Noct being a bit rusty, to say the least, but in my opinion, if he was able to take down a matriarch dragon, he should be more than capable of taking down an elemental master who only has one element. Some people have also attributed this to the fact that Kai was probably just a lot more angry at the time, and also that he's a lot more experienced, but still, to me, it makes me wonder why he was so easily defeated. The thing to me is that they clearly set up Noct to be the main of the Forbidden Five, but it does just make me wonder how he's going to be able to hold his own if he barely took down the Master of Fire. But speaking of the Master of Fire, Kai did return in the season, and to say the least, I did enjoy what he had. Now, of course, he did spend the majority of the season just sat around in a different realm, which is fine because that was all the point of the story, and his end of Season 2 Part 1 was fantastic. But until he came back at the end, he just didn't do much this season. But I'm not presenting that as if it's a problem, because it did ultimately push forward the story, and it did lead to a lot of good moments, to say the least. But I will say that his episode where he returns, he is amazing. That fight scene with Noct is fantastic, and I loved everything about it. Outside of that, he has his fun little line about what did he miss, which was a fun little moment to see, and also then he reassures Nia that they're gonna find Jay, which is a really nice scene to have had. So overall, Kai was fantastic again, and Dragon's Rising has really fixed his character. Speaking of Nia and Jay, they both had similar approaches this season clearly. Jay was found by Raz and has been manipulated by him, which is a cool thing to have, but ultimately is making me wonder where it's gonna go from here. And I have to say that the fight between Jay and Nia was fantastic. I just wish there was a little more of it, because Jay fails and then he's gone for the season, which is ultimately my problem, because I was hoping we would get at least one more shot of Jay, maybe at the end getting his power back, or maybe just in general, but no, he loses and he's gone. But the scenes that he does have in the season are fantastic. I like that his voice is lower again, which is something I always had a small issue with during the Wildbrain seasons, but that's fine overall, and his voice is back to normal, so I'm happy. But like I said, he has some very cold lines. I'm really enjoying what they're doing with Jay overall. I just wish they had a bit more of a priority on him, but I'm assuming Season 3 is going to take care of this. Nia, of course, is having a rough time this season, obviously losing Kai and then realizing that Jay just doesn't remember her. And then she's trying to break through to him, saying that she loves him and that she really is glad that she found him, but he is cold to her, saying that he will always hate her, and this sent her on a spiral. This made her very aggressive during the season, which was so fun to see, and I'm glad that we had a bit more of Nia being angry over what Raz did to Jay. I think it made for a really good scene when she was training and she broke the training equipment she was using. But then she kind of just leaves for the rest of the season, and unless I miss some sort of dialogue, she just reappears at the end of the season in the temple with Cole. It doesn't really make much sense to me, because like I said, she just vanishes, we know nothing, and then she's in the temple, which is very strange, but ultimately I'm okay with it. Cole and Zane didn't really have much to do this season, but I'm still glad that they were there because they definitely had their little moments, mainly Cole, because he had that whole thing with his mother's mech, which was a very fun couple of scenes to have, and the mech pilot suit in motion was actually really cool to see. But Zane just didn't have much to do this season, and unless I'm forgetting something, he kind of was just there. He didn't really have much to do, but he still had his own scenes, which was nice, but ultimately he was knocked out of the tournament relatively quickly, and then he was just there for the rest of it. But it doesn't take away from the fact he was very cool to see. I just wish that he had a little more. And now we're going to get into the more heavy hitters of the season, which is going to be very interesting. Starting off with Lloyd, he had a very cool arc. Realizing that he had to become more of an official master for the ninja was definitely interesting to see. And I'm glad that we got that Master Lloyd variant that we had in minifigure form. It's a very nice look, to say the least. The only thing I found confusing is that he would just randomly change in and out of the outfit at any given time, and there was no consistency to it. But he had that whole arc of helping Zora realize that she was more than just an elemental power, and how she had to do her own thing to be able to win the tournament. I really do like the bond that Lloyd and Sora are having during this season, and I'm hoping it carries on. Lloyd also goes through the motions of realizing that he is kind of losing Aaron, and towards the end of the season, he basically does. He's become very cold towards Lloyd, and I loved that scene where Lloyd was happy for Aaron for learning Spinjitzu, and Aaron coldly replies, "Not because of you." definitely makes me wonder how Lloyd is going to handle things from here onwards, especially when it comes to being the conduit of the Source Dragons, along with this grief from Aaron. I'm wondering if Lloyd's going to take more of a darker turn now, or if he's going to continue to be more positive, and how that's going to reflect in his relationship with Sora. But speaking of Aaron and Sora, they had some amazing arcs this season, and I loved it so much. Sora's is probably my favourite overall, because she does have this journey of realising that she's her own person, and she has to do things her way to be able to succeed. And by the end, she's crowned as the best Elemental Master, which is cool to see, but it was also weird at the same time. Now, I'm not saying this as a boo, I don't like Sora winning, because it is a very cool win regardless. But to me, it was very weird having her dubbed the best Elemental Master when she was possibly the most inexperienced of the entire tournament. It does make me question why they've seemingly given the ninja a bit of a debuff to make Sora look stronger, which is fine overall, and also you could attribute this to the tournament being rigged, but it is just weird to think that Sora is considered a better Elemental Master than someone like Lloyd, who defeated the Overlord. But that doesn't take away from how good she was this season, and I haven't really got any major complaints about her. She has a very good feeling throughout. She has her grief when it comes to Aaron, she has her guilt, and she has her moments of strength. It's just fantastic, and it is the best we've seen Sora so far. She is certainly becoming one of the better characters of Ninjago, and I'm very glad that she's become so accustomed to the show already, to the point where she feels almost synonymous with the show, and it's weird to think that she wasn't there for so long. Aaron has potentially the most potential of all the ninja for Season 3, because obviously now he's on more of his evil arc, and that's really cool to see. He learns full spin jutsu because of Raz's teaching, which is incredible to see. And also, he now sympathizes with Raz and even saved him from the Forbidden Five while ostracizing himself from the ninja. It's such a cool thing to see, and when you watch it develop throughout the season, it is so good to look. And by look, I mean that if you look at so many scenes throughout the entirety of the season, you can see Aaron slowly become more and more disconnected from the team. At the start of the season, he's all about it, and he's encouraging, he's happy, he's joyful, but then towards the end, he's not stood with them, he's like crouched away, he's in the shadows, he's angry. It's so cool to see, and it makes me really excited for Season 3. It makes me wonder if they're gonna go down the direction of Raz ultimately being right and being seen as a good guy, or if Season 3 will have Aaron regretting his decision and maybe having the ninja not be too receptive to him because of it. It leads to so many interesting opportunities for the show, and I'm hoping that they capitalize on it. Because ultimately, Aaron's gonna have to pick a side, and I'm wondering what side he will go down. Because at the minute, it does look like he's all for Raz, and maybe he will stick by Raz's side. But I'm assuming that in the end, he will come back around to the ninja, which is fine, but it does make me wonder how he will get there. But like I said, overall, Aaron is having a very interesting progression of character, especially when you look at how he was in Season 1 Part 1, when he was so cheery, he was loving everything about the ninja, he was taking it all in. But now he just doesn't seem to like him anymore, and he doesn't seem to trust them. But that about does it for my feelings when it comes to the characters and the story of the show. Now let's see what I think about Season 3. Now, when it comes to my predictions, I would mainly say that I'm hoping that Season 3 really homes in on the Forbidden Five, and I hope they become a very serious threat for the ninja, one that they can't just topple over, and one they're really gonna have to try their best to defeat. I'm hoping in some way that the Source Dragons do become more prevalent. I've seen someone theorize that Aaron may steal that blade that summons the Source Dragon in motion, which is why we have the set which has the gong on the Source Dragon itself. So it's a good theory, and I'm hoping it happens, but maybe at the same time it won't. I'm hoping that we do get a definitive answer as to where Aaron's loyalties lie, because it is ambiguous at best, and part of me is kind of hoping he sticks by Aaron's side, because it would be a cool reflection between Aaron and Sora when it became with Wu and Garmadon. I'm hoping they really keep up the pace that they've got going with the ninja. I'm hoping Kai remains as good as he's been lately. I'm hoping Lloyd will continue to develop through it. I'm hoping Nia will have her finale with Jay. And I'm hoping Cole and Zane have more of an arc to pick up on. But like I said with Jay, I'm really hoping the Season 1 Part 1 resolves this amnesia arc that they've got going for him, because it would be nice to see the end of Season 3 take place with all of our ninja cast ready and going against the Forbidden Five. I'm really hoping we will see Sora lean into her elemental powers more as well. I'm hoping she'll learn Spinjitzu. I would love to see her learn Rising Dragon. There's so many opportunities for Sora, and part of me is kind of hoping in the end Sora and Aaron clash heads. A part of me would also like to see Raz turn out to be right. That would be such a cool development. And if Raz successfully demerged the realms, what would it be for Ninjago going forwards? But I would say my final hope, if anything, is that the show will release on time. I know that's a crazy theory to have, but I'm hoping it does, and I'm hoping that they keep the pace that they have going, because Dragon's Rising, in my opinion, has been a fantastic set of seasons so far, and I'm hoping that the pace doesn't stop towards the end. Whoa, that was one crazy video. Personal all-time favorite from me. I haven't filmed it. Anyways, as the subscribers are hopefully aware, and if you're not subscribed, you should be, I said that if this channel hits 500 subs, I would give them one of two options for the video. Now, in the Optimus video, I showed off Legacy Menasor, which is a pretty cool figure to say the least. But here is the Ninjago option for 500 subs, and let me know if you want this. So for that option, we have the Bricktober 2018 pack, and it's empty. That's right, I'm reviewing the box. No, the figures are just in my display, so I didn't pull them for the video. But this will be the second option for 500 subscribers. So let me know if you want this or if you want Menasor. But I would say that about does it for my feelings on Dragon's Rising Season 2 Part 2. And let me know if I missed anything or if you want me to clear up anything on what I've said. And let me know if you do want to see me talk about the seasons more in this kind of fashion. But that about does it, guys. Let me know how you feel about the season. Thank you and bye!